Hey, good evening, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to the Sovereign People's Broadcast, where you are the sovereign. Means you retain all of your rights, you reserve all your powers. That means you have all authority over yourself. That means you did not leave it to some representatives who don't. So I hope that works out real good. Hey, Don. Hey, Keith. Good to see you here. Like I said in the heading, Keith is going to join us tonight on the broadcast. I've got a list of things to go over, but Keith's more important. So, Keith, anytime you're ready, invite yourself and jump on in here. Uh, let's see. Hey, Denzel, good to see you, guy. I'm going to hit you here, Keith, and see if I can add you. So, we just rolling into a good day. Been kind of cool here. Not a good painting day for the SPNWO camper van. So anyway, we'll see if Keith makes it on here. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and thank y'all for having patience with me. Hey, there the man. Great day, senor. How you doing?
Greeting. Good. Yourself?
Yeah, doing good. Thanks for tuning in. Looks like you took a soak.
Yes.
You just
Been
thinking about that.
been cracking them walnuts. My thumb's a little sore.
What was sore?
My thumb.
Oh,
It's
what'd you
I
do
got
to it?
all kinds of walnut stain
No,
on them.
I was going to ask you about the
Been
walnuts.
husking walnuts for yeah.
Oh,
Been husking walnuts for about 3 days.
well, I thought you were going to show us how to crack them and leave them whole. I was
Yeah,
watching your video, but you just showed me how to hull.
yeah. We got to dry them yet, and then we'll do some cracking.
How long do you end up letting those things dry?
Um, we'll just let them dry outside for a couple days, and then
Okay.
we'll just bring them in and put them in a dehydrator or something and dry them that way. But generally, you let them sit outside somewhere away from the squirrels and let them dry for about 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, we were really shy on pecans around here this year, but I had three big bags, huge bags of pecans. So I dumped them in my neighbor's yard. I
Hey,
didn't want to. I
maybe
didn't
you'll
want
have
them.
some sprouts next year.
Yeah, they're gonna love me because they're kind of thin pickings this year. But I was gonna do them in my own yard, and I opened the bags up. I go, nah. Then all the squirrels gonna be in my house and everything like that. So I went took three neighbors and dumped them over there.
There you go.
Oh, anyway, we got to support all life, no matter what we are.
Yes, that's that prosperity and abundance I was talking about in that video.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people will throw them holes away, but there's so many different uses for them. And I only went over the one, which is the tincture, because they're high in iodine. And so what you do is you put the holes in some 80 proof alcohol and let them sit for about 30 days, and then strain them all off. And that tincture is good for skin care, abrasions, sores, and you can use it to get rid of worm infestations, parasites, and stuff. If you come across a parasite and you're starting to get diarrhea and stuff, you can add a few drops into a cup of water and drink that every day for 2 to 3 weeks and get rid of them parasites.
Do
It's
you
not
do?
something that you want to do on a regular basis.
Yeah, you do the same thing with iodine.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
Okay, I didn't know if it's iodine in the walnuts, and iodine's supposed to be good for radiation, or supposed to be smart to
correct.
have some on hand.
Yeah, if you've got cancer, that's a good way to help assist in ridding yourself of cancer. And like I said, that's not the only use of those holes. You can um, let those holes dry and crush them down into a fine powder. And people use them for hair dyes, tanning. As you can see, it leaves a stain on your skin, so you can get a fake tan. Um, Wood stains, all kinds of things.
Okay, yeah, I knew about the wood stains and all. Well, me, I just been painting today, so I think
Yeah,
I got
you're
paint
going the
every
other way.
day. Well, that's pretty cool. Um, what else you been doing these days? You've been kind of camping out a little bit, didn't you?
Well, no, I'm still at it. I moved down here to Eminence, Missouri here about 3 months ago. I'm getting ready to go back home for a couple weeks and visit again, but I'm down here in Eminence, Missouri now, and I plan on staying. It's a gorgeous place. And real quick before I go any further, eminence. You always hear about eminent domain,
Right.
and eminent domain means paramount domain. And so when I moved down here, it was perfect because eminence stands for paramount, and I'm in a perfect place. So, but other than that, been doing some remodeling at a house. We're kind of stuck in a two-bedroom house right here, and like I told you earlier, we've got a new brother that joined the world here a couple days ago.
Yeah,
We're
congratulations.
welcoming, yeah, we're welcoming Frank to the world, and so we're remodeling a house so me and my brother Matthew can move out there and give these guys some more room, and did some wild grape harvesting, things like that. Just good old Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn type stuff.
Yeah, okay, well, good. I've just been through Missouri, and I didn't realize I detoured so damn freaking far away. But a long time ago, and it was a group of Americans who were getting together, and they were doing apostilles, claiming their American citizenship and tossing away the U.S. slavery citizenship. And
Right.
then they filed all their paperwork, I think, out of Texas, because I remember the Secretary of State was name was Charlie Daniels. And then they filed some over in Alabama, and the not the Secretary of State. Yeah, let's see. Oh no, the head of the Treasury Department name was Young Boozer.
Yeah. Charlie Daniels, the devil went down to Texas. He was looking for a soul to steal.
There you go. There you go. He's still looking. He hadn't found me yet. So anyway, that's pretty good. But I appreciate Don and Tim and everybody jumping on with us tonight. You got any particular topics you want to hit up? I've got some articles, but I'll hit them a little later.
Well, no, let's go ahead and let's just do this ad lib. What
Okay.
you
Did
got?
you get a chance to look at those documents a friend sent in the other day, or did you get you hadn't
Not
looked?
yet. Not yet.
Okay, okay. I did a little broadcast on it the other day. We'll discuss that later. But it's pretty much some people going down, standing on their rights because at the county and the state, they say and claim that they own you and your property and everything else. And on my take, once you throw off a government, there is no relationship. And somebody was asking me about that, Kathleen was earlier. And she said, well, how do you throw off? And I kind of laughed
Okay.
because shouldn't that
Well,
be inherent and an individual just knows how to do that? And what
yeah.
I
And
told her, it's like taking a piece of paper, wadding it up, and throwing it away. Where's the relationship? How can that piece of paper act upon you? It cannot. And it made me think today, all the government's on a piece of paper anyway. So the
yeah.
analogy makes a hell of a lot of sense.
Well, I'll explain real quick how I threw them off, and in my situation, my education has come slowly over a number of years, through various different situations in accordance to certain things. One thing was the I-9 form. When I first got out of prison when I was young, I had determined that I didn't want to work for somebody else. I wanted to do my own thing. And so I went to work temporarily for a meat packing company to save up money so I could start my own business. And that's exactly what I did. And
What
I
was,
started a sales.
excuse me, what was the I-9 form?
Well, that is an independent contractor.
Oh,
And
okay, okay.
if we um, comprehend independent, that's a declaration of independence, you know.
Hmm.
And so when you say you're an independent contractor, the same thing as saying you're a private contractor. And when you fill out that I-9 form, what happens is it goes to the IRS, but there's no social security number on it. And so it goes into a round file. and it sits there and they have no activity on it because they know you've already claimed just that simple thing,
Oh, wow.
independent contractor.
Okay.
And that's asserting your ultimate or your unlimited powers of contract in a very simple statement that they recognize. And so when I did that, that was one of the first things that I realized about taxes. Nobody really has to pay taxes. Simply all you got to do is clarify that you're an independent contractor. And that's the same thing when you go fill out an application for somebody else, say McDonald's. All you have to do is amend it and put down, this is not an application for employment. This is an independent contract.
Okay.
And so that was real simple. And so along my path, I've learned several different things. And one of the things that I came across was that UCC 1-308.
Right.
We know that everything you sign is an instrument. It's a financial instrument. That therefore it relates to commerce directly. And so when we use that UCC, it's the Uniform Commercial Code.
Right.
And so I started signing all the citations with UCC 1-308 and then just never went to court because that's a reservation of rights. And I explained this in a video I did earlier today. You don't have to reserve rights. You have to retain them. They're already there.
That's what I've been saying.
And so when you call up a restaurant and make a reservation, what you're doing is you're reserving a time slot for a future time. You don't do that with your rights. You maintain them at all times. So you don't need to reserve them. You just have to clarify, no, nobody's taking them away. They still exist. I hold them inherently. So why do I need to reserve them? All I have to do is make a verbal statement. I stand my square.
Yeah.
And so what I learned was that I got 11 citations that I signed, UCC 1-308, and then never showed up in court over a span of about 3.5 years. And this was four years and prior to that. So these have standing now on and for the record for 7-8 years. Okay. Now, the last time I went to court, I was drug into court physically. I was arrested for supposedly possession of marijuana, 6th offense, after they pulled me over for invalid plates. And what they did was they wrote the charge out as possession, 6th offense, with subsequent charges. So what they did there was they violated a maxim of law, which is first in time, first in line. And what I mean is that they pulled me over for invalid plates and then found out that I had marijuana on me.
Right.
So they charged me with possession and then subsequent charges. You can't do that. You have to prove that you had a valid reason to pull me over to begin with.
True.
So I know that even though I went through this court case and everything and supposedly lost, I now have standing on and for the record because when they sentenced me, and let me help you guys figure this out, 5 possession charges prior to that, I had a public pretender, and each time I got full penalties, 2 years with fines, fees, and all that. Okay. This time I told the attorney, I said, you say one word in that courtroom and I will hold you liable. And believe you me, he didn't say a word. And despite all of this, standing on my own, this time I only got 60 days.
Okay.
So when I did my 60 days, they consequently let me out 47 days for good time. And when I went back through the discharge process, they call it release. Now comprehend the word release. It's not a word, it's a term. It is the word lease with a condition put on it of a prefix of RE, release. What are they doing? They're referring to that Social Security contract and they're going to release my services again. Sorry, I ain't going to sign any release papers. Well, we can't let you go then. Oh, really? You're going to violate the judge's order to discharge myself? Oh. So it only took a matter of a couple minutes of explaining that, and they put refuse to sign and let me out the door. Okay? Now, mind you, the whole trial, none of those other 11 citations came up. And like I said, They're past due a long time ago, and to this day, there's no warrants. I've called the Treasury Offset Program to clarify that nobody has any debts listed against that person, public or private.
Uh-huh.
So yet this county courthouse is listing these debts on the account, but the Treasury says no. So where is the joinder? There is none. Period.
Okay. Good, good, good.
And so when we comprehend this stuff, we realize that it's all fiction. It doesn't exist. So anyway, I did this video this morning on another UCC code. And I want people to catch this one because this is the most important one in my opinion. If you look at all of your checks, anytime you write a check, look at that signature line. It's not a signature line. It says in micro print, authorized signature, okay? And under this one code, UCC 3-402, section B, subsection 1, and it says, and I quote, the authorized representative giving an unambiguous authorized signature on the instrument is not liable for the person named in the instrument. And if we think about that, these judges that are signing these documents as an authorized representative, the prosecutor signing the documents as an authorized representative, the police officer signing that citation as an authorized representative, no one's liable. Why? Because they all know it's fictional. Now all you have to do is assert the same thing.
Oh, okay,
Period.
okay.
Does that make sense?
I understand it, yeah, but it's going to take a little bit to sink in. I've known about the 1-308. It was used to be 1-207, and then they changed that
Right.
10 or 12 years ago or something.
Yeah, and all they did, guys, they didn't get rid of it. It still exists. It's just been separated. That's called dissemination. It's been separated,
Right.
spread out. And what they did was they rewrote it into different sections.
Yeah, yeah, they try to hide that stuff.
Yep. And like it says still, it says that the law is to be uniform throughout all jurisdictions. And when we see that in the lowest jurisdiction, which is the maritime courts, then it means it has to extend all the way up through all jurisdictions.
Yeah.
So when we see that we're not liable in the commercial realm, we see that we're not liable in any of them.
Well,
And that goes to Genesis 17, verse 1. I am Almighty God. And I don't know if you guys are Christians or religious or anything like that, but it's the concept that I want you to comprehend here. I am Almighty God. So long as you follow my way, ye shall be blameless.
Gotcha.
Everything we do is blameless. We're blameless. We don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So how can we be to blame?
So what do you think about
life is an education?
Yeah, it gets to be stressful at times. So what do you
Yes.
think about the throwing off? Because what I've been telling people is it's the only duty that applies to the American people. Now, under statute, they say we are ascribed responsibilities and privileges, but that's different from standing on your rights, like the retained all rights, the Ninth Amendment, and throwing off a despotic government, which we obviously have.
Okay, that's you used a good word there, ascribe.
Well,
Back in the old days, got again break down that word, scribe. Scribe is the root word. What does scribe mean? To write. It's a literal word. In beginning was word, and it was the spoken word. Before we learned how to write, before we even learned how to speak, we were drawing on cave walls and grunting and pointing. That, in a sense, was the literal spoken word.
Yeah.
See, everything we do is a language. It's a communication. See, I used to walk around. I used to be a very angry man. And I always wondered why people looked at me so deviously. It looked like they were frowning at me. And it's because that's what I was putting out. today I try to make sure that I smile as best I can because that's what I want back. And
Yeah.
in everything that we do, if we want peace, we have to come in peace.
Yeah, well,
And
I
that's
think
all it is.
you do a real good job of that, and it's appreciated. Thank you.
I hope so. I hope so. I'm not perfect, but I try to I try to work towards that.
Well, I don't even try. I just kind of add this. I do my best. The perfect thing, not even a goal and objective.
I always try to set goals and objectives for myself because I got a lot of growing yet to do. Like I said, I used to be a very angry guy, and I wouldn't make it 2 words into a conversation. I'm cussing and swearing. I'm working on that really hard. I've managed to do a few videos now and only cuss twice, so I'm doing pretty good.
Well, I've got plenty of goals and objectives. Getting perfect isn't one of them. Being as good as I can be, that's on the list. That's daily. Um,
Yeah.
um, some Cher said something about banks taking power of attorney over people's accounts. So I was going to do a little cut and paste on this because the banks, as you probably know, claim and once you open an account, now it's different with credit unions. The banks, they claim all the money that goes in there is actually their money at that particular point. You like any comments on that?
Um, Again, you're signing checks and they're unambiguously implying that you're the authorized representative. So use it. I'm the authorized representative. I'm not liable, and neither are you. So let's be fair about this. Whose money is it really? You know? And so when it comes to these banks, we have to comprehend that we have to qualify that signature. And in qualifying that signature according to the use of the monetary instruments that we're involving ourselves with, we have two sides of a ledger. And I talked about this the other day too. What they're doing is they're offsetting the ledger. And what we have to do is we don't charge discharge or anything. We set off. Everything's backwards. And think about this. If you go back in my post, you'll see I wrote up a little thing on it. You have to draw back what was set off or offset. And when we draw something, what we're doing is we're drafting. And again, if you look in the commercial code, when you write a draft, you're making an order to pay. Anytime you see anything that says order, it's called an order paper, and it's a financial instrument ordering somebody to pay.
Yeah,
And that's called a draft. A promise is a note. A
right.
draft is an order.
Okay, okay. Hey, what, we're talking about UCC and codes and all this other stuff. What is it that makes any of this stuff applicable to us? In my take, I'm just a living man. All this other stuff was fictional, created and imposed on me. But once I throw off, there's no association that says I have to accept these impositions.
Correct. And because basically what it is, um, we're accepting things based upon an implication. And when we accept that, then the presumption of the court stands
Yeah.
because they're accepting our assumption that their implication stands. So it's just a matter of, again, getting back to the right words and clarifying everything.
Okay.
This isn't applicable to myself. It's only applicable to the person that that I have authorized representation of.
Right, right. Um, another topic I hit up today with all the stuff about, I'm not picking on gays or any of that stuff, but transgenders, and now you have so many different types of classifications. Today I'm a male, tomorrow I'm a female, the next day I'm a frog, I'm a whatever. Uh, it seems to be just a lot of insanity going on, even in politics, when people who are in levels of responsibility to the people. And I think it's time for the people just to stand up and cut this crap out, don't you?
Yeah. Malika Dulce, along with Chris Hallett, Um, there are a couple people that I respect and love tremendously because they're really diligent in all of their research and their efforts. And what we're coming to find out is that we need to start submitting writs of remonstrance against these courts to the legislature. See, what we're doing right now is we're dealing with the judicial branch of the government, which is the lower branch. And then you have the legislative branch. And then if we need to go above that, we go to the executive branch, which is the governor of the state or the executive departments of the federal government.
I understand that. Been following Chris for a long time. Hadn't watched the broadcast in about a week or two, and I think they're doing a very good, necessary job within that box. Where I'm coming from is that I'm not in the box, and why are people
Right.
still being within this box? And well, I've got to go to the legislature these steps, which I think is a good process if you're going to stay within the box. But the law states that as far as taxation goes, it only applies to everything that the state either creates or is introduced at its permission. And if you look at the laws, they all deal with this fictional person, never the people. And the people are not a created entity. I am not a created entity. So once I throw off, that stuff lawfully and legally does not apply to me anymore, in my opinion, and by law, frankly. So
Correct.
what do you think about those who are, I would call that outside the box, and maybe you are, but you're still using UCC, it sounds like.
Well, and that's only for people like, as you said, that are in the box. Um, See, I want people to comprehend. I quit the commercial system when I walked out of jail that last time, and they put refuse to sign.
Uh-huh.
I haven't signed anything since. If you don't sign, they have nothing.
Right.
Now, the thing about that is that there's a thing known as a statute of limitations. And as far as Social Security account is concerned, which is where all commerce extends from in regards to that person, um, they have a statute of limitations of 2 years, where if there's no activity on that account, they have, and I'll have to look it up. They have stated that they can close that account.
So they kind of like,
Well, if you
it's kind of like
comprehend,
excuse me, it's kind of like a write-off.
right, right,
Okay.
and
Okay.
if you think about that, any kind of contract, there's by law, international law, there's equal consideration and equal benefit. So if they have the benefit of closing that account, then so do I. And this is what I was talking about. I've established a record of no such record.
Uh-huh.
So for 4 years now, there's no signature. Where's your record that I've signed any contracts? Let alone the fact that you have record that I've refused to sign, as well as I've used your Uniform Commercial Code to explicitly show that I reserve my rights, or as I say, retain my rights,
Yeah.
um, as well as the submission of a rescission of all signatures that I
Right.
entered
Right.
into that last case. I
And that,
rescinded all signatures from all documents ever known, and they have no way to rebut that. You cannot force me to do a dang thing.
and kind of helping out Kathleen and others. Um, there's not a magic way to do all of this. All I did in
No,
my case, I just wrote the DMV and said, "Hey, I rescind my signature with the Treasury Department and everything else." Is there any particular way you went about that?
I just did a handwritten document in blue ink on lined notebook paper and handed it in,
Okay.
entered it right into the case. And like I said, I'm going back to Waterloo here this next week or so to visit for a couple of weeks, and I'm going to grab my legal documents along with my case transcripts.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people are having a hard time getting their case transcripts, and the courts are telling them they got to pay all this money. Well, that's what they tried to do to me too. And I stood there and said, no, that's my transcript. I have full rights to it, and you will give it to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And they printed it up and gave it to me while I was serving my time.
Oh, good, good, good. There is
So I've got my full case transcripts along with the sentencing transcripts, and I'll be doing some videos on those.
okay. There is a law, and I usually printed it out when I go if I and I've used it in court when you go in to file a document or something like that, and the case says that the fees and things like that were never meant to apply to the people. It was only to apply to the fictions, and it actually states that. So I've gone in. They said, okay, that'd be $45 or whatever, and I go, no, it won't. And I hand it to them, and they go, oh, you're right, and they go ahead and accept it because those are
Yep,
art
that's in the
services.
jurisprudence of law.
Exactly, exactly. So that may help some other people out. I've posted that law on here before. I may look it up again.
Yeah, same here. And we discussed also, everybody has a private right of attorney, and that means you have the private right to be an attorney yourself.
And is that
You
what's
know,
called
there's
an attorney in fact?
that's no, that's private attorney general.
Private attorney general. Okay, I knew it was one or the other.
Yeah,
All right, all right.
yeah. But that goes right along with that durable power of attorney in fact.
Okay,
And
okay.
it's specific durable power of attorney. That means you can't violate it. If you do, it's a tortious action. It's a crime,
Uh-huh.
and it stands eternally until you die.
That's the one thing that the Colorado 8 had used, and somebody, maybe you said is 9. I didn't know there were 9. But somewhere in there, they kind of got in a little trouble doing that. But they had 35
Well,
charges. I don't know which charges applied to it.
what they did was they started placing liens, and I don't ever suggest placing liens
Right.
because, like I just explained, nobody's liable. You
Yeah.
cannot place a lien on them. Do not do that. I beg you, do not put liens on people. Forgive.
Well, I know some of them did that. I know, for example, Steve Byfield, he did not and would not, but he got charged with it all, I think, just because of association.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly what they did. They called it an association.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, I want to be respectful of you and Frank there. So when was Frank born? 2 days ago?
Yeah, a couple days ago. Yeah,
All right, all right. So pound and ounces and all that stuff? How much you weigh? How big
I
was
don't know yet. It was one of the house the one of my brothers here in the house. I don't even have that information yet. It's
Oh,
I
okay,
He's my
okay.
brother.
Just
I don't
curious.
care about anything else.
Well, that's for all the women because they always want to know that crap.
Yeah,
Was it a
yeah.
hospital thing or did they do it at home and not being personal? Just curious.
Well, they went through a midwife, but they secured the safety of a hospital assistance,
Okay,
but they
okay.
got out of there without birth certificate and all that, I believe.
Good job. Okay, great, great. Okay. Well, happy that they got a little free one running around or
Yeah, yeah.
rolling around, I guess.
He'll
Have you seen it yet?
be running. Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah. They
okay,
came home
okay.
today.
All right. Well, good, good, good. All right. Well, hey, thank you for tuning in. I figure y'all got to have supper or something. I just want to be respectful, but good
Oh
broadcast.
no, I'm done. I just got to tone it down, keep my voice down.
Ah, okay, okay. All right. I'm just looking at some other things on here. Police officers are labeled liars. That was a article about Yahoo. So anyway, well, that's all I want to kind of cover tonight. If you get to look over those documents at any point, I'd like to get your 2 cents, and maybe we can do a broadcast on that. And pretty much, and I'll tell you exactly where I'm coming from. I threw this mess off decades ago, and I've given notice. I've given legal, judicial, and constructive notice and sovereign decree that I've thrown off the despotic government, which is my only duty. So far, I'm the only one that I know of that's ever done that. The law states you don't even have to give notice of it, but I did it and recorded in public office in several states, including I've been to the United Nations 4 times. And that brings back something else. I may go back to the UN in the very near future. If there's something I can do for and on behalf of all people so similarly situated, they've always been very respectful and receptive in receiving me, listening to the issues. So I've only got a week or so, we'll call it a week. If people are having interest in that, I'll be glad to carry something or try to and have that addressed.
Well, you know me in words. One of the biggest things is the dissemination of information and everything, and it all comes because there's information on a record, RECO for record, and RECO for recognition. What we, the people, myself particularly, would like, I guess I can't speak for all people, but to be recognized without a record. Like you said, we don't have to give them notice. They should just
Exactly.
automatically recognize us. We're the ones that gave them birth. We're the ones that give them life.
Correct. Exactly. Um, the last time I went, they handed back a letter. What I was doing was standing up at that point for people in America. Some of them been thrown in prison, had their jobs taken away, their businesses. Some have even been killed. The United Nations told me they were very aware of all of this. And I said, what I'm trying to do is get you to recognize the rights of the people. And what they stated to me, I was a little shocked by it, but they gave me documents and gave me a letter in Spanish and in English because I was in a Spanish country. And they said that they could not recognize the people in what we're talking about, basically as separate entities, collectively or individually. All they could do, because it wasn't allowed in their charter, all their charter allowed them to do was recognize that the people have the right to belong, i.e., be subject to a state. So they do not believe in a free people, is the bottom line. But
Yeah,
I am
and
willing to
that's
go and stand on behalf of myself and you and all people so similarly situated. So if we'd like, let me offer this to you. If you'd like to draft up a little one paragraph or something that people could sign on to, then let's take a week and see how many signatures. That'll give me something. I'll walk right in there and do it.
I'll see what I can come up with.
Yeah, let's
But
think about
like I
that. But
said, that
it's
that's still, that's one of those things when you start doing that, you're putting something on the record for them to recognize, but you can only do that in a personal capacity. That's the only way it can be done.
well that okay. I understand what you're saying, and you're right. It would be done in a personal capacity, but it's in a personal capacity. It can be. It's like the word people. People is both singular and plural. So in your own personal capacity, it can be singular or collectively. So it could be for more than
Right.
one or one individual.
Well, and that's specifically why I like I, we, and us. I, we, us, our. Those are specifically banking terms. And again, when we look at banking terms, they're still talking about commerce, and that's all about profits and future. Remember, I was telling you about reservation of rights. That's a future thing.
Right.
That's the whole premise for this commercial system is everything is based on a future if. I don't live on ifs. I live in the now, and I make a decision every second. My
Well,
mind is constantly cognitive of what's going on, recognizing the reality. Realize the real lies with your real eyes.
yeah, and it's a struggle to live, have to deal with their box and live with the reality that, you know, I'm not a fiction. You and I, we're
Yeah,
not
and
fictions. We're actual, real, beings.
yeah,
So,
and believe you me, people, it is hard. Like I said, I dropped out of the commercial system. I didn't just throw off government. I threw out the entire commercial system. And granted, I use Federal Reserve notes, but only under a doctrine of necessity. Otherwise, I do everything by barter, trade, and gratuities,
yeah,
freely giving and what I was freely given. And when we think about this, we have to realize that that's the thing about prosperity and abundance. Again, like I explained in the walnut video, you don't, in this commercial society, we waste so much. I mean, people think, well, that's fat. I don't want the fat. So they throw it in the garbage. Okay. When we dress deer around here, we don't waste anything, just like the Native Americans. Even if we can't use the pelt ourselves, we will throw it out in the yard, let the insects eat away at it, let the flies lay their eggs on it, and then the maggots, the chickens will come around and eat the maggots. You
right,
know,
right.
it's
Well,
and
hey,
then once it gets to a certain point, you can turn it under into your garden and use it for fertilizer. You know, we don't have to throw things into a garbage pail and then dispose of it by moving it from one place to another and not letting it be used by any other life form.
yeah,
That's wasteful.
yeah. Just for me in my house, everything that's biodegradable, including the eggshells, which may or may not be,
Yeah,
but it always goes out in the yard. Uh, then they hit you up with this because I've thought about it and already given somebody my instructions. But when we pass away, they embalm you and all this stuff, or you can get toasted, so to speak. I think when I die, just leave my ass alone. And I told people if I'm in a particular country, give the fisherman $100 and buy him a bunch of beer and float me out there and sink me in the water and feed me back to the fish. I figure I've eaten enough of
yeah,
them. You give back to nature. What are your thoughts
yeah.
on that?
Or else bury me in the ground without a coffin and plant a tree on top of me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
What am I going to care? I can't take anything with me, including my body.
yeah.
What is there to respect? If you want to respect me, respect life by giving me back to life.
Right. Yeah, totally agree. Okay, well, I appreciate your comments on that.
Anytime.
All right. Well, hey, let's tune in and do it again. And thank you for your good support and always your smiles. Here's my paint job. Hey, have a good night.
All
See
right.
you.
Bless you, brother. Good night.
Bless all. Good night.